You were once a baby, I was once a baby, and all babies are cute, aren't they? Well, the babies of the Middle Ages weren't. Strangely enough, they looked like tired old gentlemen in miniature. You've probably come across a painting like this and found it strange or bizarre, and wondered what was going on in the minds of medieval artists. To begin to understand this question, we need to talk about an interesting and peculiar concept called homunculus. The word homunculus comes from Latin and means little man. In medieval philosophy and alchemy, the homunculus was a miniature representation of a human being. This concept profoundly influenced the way medieval artists portrayed babies in their works. During the Middle Ages, art was strongly influenced by religion and the worldview of the time. Medieval artists were not concerned with realism or the faithful representation of childhood. Instead, their works were loaded with symbolism and religious messages. Babies were often portrayed as small adults, reflecting the belief that Jesus, even in his infancy, possessed the wisdom and divinity of an adult. The religious paintings of the Middle Ages had a clear purpose: to transmit Christian teachings and values. Portraying babies as divine little adults reinforced the idea that the soul and essence of the individual were already present from birth. This explains why the child Jesus, for example, often appears with the proportions and facial expressions of an adult. These representations were not intended to be realistic, but rather to communicate the divine nature of Christ. These images were depicted in churches and consequently served as inspiration for the time. So babies other than the representation of Jesus also began to be painted with these characteristics of many adults. Another factor to consider is the artistic technique and anatomical knowledge of the time. Medieval artists did not have the same understanding of human anatomy that Renaissance artists later developed. The practice of dissection and detailed study of the human body only became common during the Renaissance. Therefore, the lack of anatomical knowledge contributed to the disproportionate and often ugly representations of babies in medieval paintings. As art evolved and the Renaissance brought a new focus on realism and the study of nature, depictions of babies also changed. Renaissance artists, such as Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, began to depict babies in a more realistic and naturalistic way, based on direct observations and anatomical studies. From this point on, paintings began to portray babies with softer, more childlike features, abandoning the aesthetic of the homunculus. So the next time you come across a medieval painting of a baby that looks like a bizarre little adult that only a mother's love could find beautiful, remember the historical and cultural context that shaped these representations. The aesthetics of the homunculus and religious influence played crucial roles in the art of the time. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Leave your impressions of these medieval representations and suggestions for our next videos in the comments. See you next time.